welcome back here with Overdrive on track. For the past 2 years, Red Bull and Sebastian Vettel have dominated at the BIC, and this time around, experts do believe, well, you don't really need to be an expert to predict that Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull will dominate once again at the BIC. Notwithstanding extraordinary circumstances, Sebastian Vettel is all set to claim his 4th consecutive World Championship title. There have been a lot of theories about the Red Bull juggernaut's success. A superior designer, a superior car, but no one can deny Sebastian Vettel the credit of being one of the best drivers of our age, having been compared to the likes of Michael Schumacher and Ayrton Senna.
Red Bull over the last few years have, with Adrian Newey's help, they produced a car which is unbeatable. And Vettel is a good driver as well, so the combination becomes the benchmark, and they've been kind of dominant, which not many people are liking it as well.
You can't begrudge him. I think in 30-40 years time we'll look back at him as an all-time great. For any driver to be in a position to win 4 World Championships is truly amazing.
If nothing happens to Vettel's car, he's going to be so quick in the Budh circuit here in India that he's going to win the race, because he's won the last 2 races, and he has to finish 5th to clinch his 4th World Championship, which is very easily possible.
Red Bull also have arguably the best driver pairing this season, and this has been evident by their 4 consecutive Constructors' Championship. Mark Webber, now a veteran of the sport, has scored consistent points for Red Bull for the past 4 years and even came close to winning the driver's title in 2010. This will, however, be the last time Webber will race a Formula 1 car in India, as the Aussie announced his retirement from the sport earlier this year. He currently stands 5th in the driver's standings and can certainly bid farewell to the sport as one of its most popular characters.
I don't think when Mark signed to join the team he could have ever imagined the kind of success and the Constructors' Championships that he's contributed to that we would go on to achieve. He's a real fan of the sport, and I think the sport will miss him. I think there's no question about it. Formula 1 will miss him, because he's just an honest, hard-working, outspoken guy who it's quite rare to see in Formula 1 these days.
The only one driver who has given Sebastian Vettel a run for his money in the last 3 years has been Fernando Alonso in his Ferrari. This year is no exception, as the double world champion has the closest chance to beat Vettel to the title. However statistically unlikely that may be. Alonso still hasn't managed to win a driver's title with Ferrari, which is the sport's most successful team ever. The team, having won its last Constructors' title in 2007 with Kimi Raikkonen, has struggled all year with a mediocre car and is fighting for the 2nd spot with Mercedes-AMG Petronas, aided mostly by Alonso's performance.
Fernando, again, I think he's just proved what a great racer he is. I mean, I've said it many times before and I'll say it again. For me, he's the best driver on the grid. Unfortunately, Ferrari haven't yet been able to give him a car that can fight against the Red Bulls on an even level playing field. But you see, he's one of those opportunistic drivers who, when there's a chance to get a podium, he gets it.
He's a very good driver. He's getting the best out of Ferrari, and even more. That's from himself, from his experience, and obviously his raw talent as well. So he's been pushing that car, getting every ounce of performance out of it.
In 3rd place this season is the legendary Silver Arrows, now Mercedes-AMG Petronas, with championship driver in Lewis Hamilton and teammate Nico Rosberg, has shown potential from time to time, consistently getting podium finishes, but have also been marred by a bit of bad luck with DNFs.
The Mercedes car is quite up and down. The car doesn't seem to have the consistency across the season like the Red Bull or the Ferrari. I think there are certain circuits where the Merc is really ideally suited. We saw Monaco was one, we saw Shanghai was another, Budapest. There are certain circuits where they were just tremendously quick, and other circuits when they were really struggling.
A team that started the 2013 season off on a high note by winning the first race was Lotus F1 team, with another great driver pairing of 2007 World Champion Kimi Raikkonen and 2013 Race of Champions winner Roman Grosjean. The team, however, lost their momentum mid-season with a string of mediocre finishes and currently occupy the 4th place in the constructors' standings.
Yeah, the Lotus team, I think people need to realize they're not as well funded or as big as Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari or Mercedes. You know, they're probably the 5th largest team in terms of budget and development ability and personnel. So I think they've done a great job. They've really outperformed the expectations people should have of them.
McLaren, a team with one of the most glorious histories in Formula One, have had one of their most disappointing years in the sport. The Mercedes-partnered team is currently 5th in the constructors' standings with a disappointing 9th position for world champion Jenson Button and 13th place for Sergio Perez.
I think McLaren's had a hugely disappointing season. Up to this point, they haven't got a podium yet. I think, and that's in the history of McLaren. That's since going back to 1980. Really, the current McLaren, the Ron Dennis era. That's never happened. The McLaren have always at least managed to get some podiums. So it's a hugely disappointing season for them. I think there are going to be a lot of questions asked over the winter. I think there's going to be some technical restructuring needed there.
Only 20 points behind McLaren is Sahara Force India, a team that will have 1 billion people behind it coming into the Indian GP. The 5 following teams are Sauber, Toro Rosso, Williams, Marussia and Caterham. With 2 years of learnings behind the teams, it will be interesting what the strategies are going to be in this 3rd edition of the Indian GP.
It's very hard to look beyond Red Bull for the Indian GP. The circuit layout in India, I think, will favour anyone who's been competitive at high speed, high downforce tracks like Silverstone, like Korea. So you'd have to say Red Bull are the favourites, but people like Lotus and Mercedes, I think, could be strong. It is a front limited circuit which benefits the Mercedes cars. We've seen they're good at front limited circuits like Shanghai and Korea. Lotus have good race pace. The BIC is a very high speed circuit. You have a lot of lateral loading on the tires, so the Lotus guys seem to be able to manage that better than some others. So I think they could be right up there. And you can never discount Fernando and Ferrari.
Stay with us here on Overdrive on Track, because on the other side of this break, we catch up with BIC track owner Sameer Gaur and FMSCI President Vicky Chandok to find out everything that goes into hosting a Formula One race in India.